Welcome to the Future of Payroll and Workforce Management Insights by HR.com, your go-to resource for insights into payroll and workforce management. From navigating compliance and technology trends to exploring the latest in global payroll solutions, we're here to keep you ahead of the curve. Join us as we dive into the forces reshaping payroll and share practical strategies to optimize your workforce management. Let's get started. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of Future of Payroll and Workforce Management, a podcast here at HR.com, where I'm your host. My name is Brent Skinner, and my guest today is Filip Terzic. Welcome to the podcast, Filip.
Glad to be here, Brent. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this. We originally were going to record from the floor of the 44th Payroll Congress in I was going to say this month, but it is actually June 1st to today when we're recording. So technically last month, a couple of weeks ago, we weren't quite able to make it happen. I think you guys were breaking down your exhibitor booth, and I was running around with like a chicken with his head cut off, probably. But anyway, it's great to have you on today.
Yeah, no, man, I'm glad to be here. And like you said, you know how those conferences are. They're hectic. Everything that you plan and prepare for a couple of weeks in advance, it's all a game time decision right there. So I'm glad that we were able to get this on the books and actually get a chance to record it now.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. And of course you're with BIPO, which is an EOR. And we have a really interesting topic today. We have a working title. I think we might keep it. It's Breaking into America: Why Global Payroll Gets Stuck at the U.S. Border. I like that. That sounds really intriguing. There's things about payroll in the U.S. that a lot of companies don't necessarily, fathom until they're faced with it. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. But first, as I like to ask all my guests, Filip, and I'll ask you too, is what got you into this particular profession? There's a lot of passion in the world of workspace, especially among leaders. They have sort of like a mission. And I love to hear the stories, and it's always just really great to hear all the different perspectives. What gets you going every morning when it comes to this market space, Filip?
Yeah, no, I appreciate the question. My story is maybe a little bit more unique than everybody else's. So, just to give you a little bit of context, so I don't know if you guys can see by my name or not, but I have a unique spelling of it, right? So I was born in Serbia. My parents moved here when I was 3 years old. With the war and everything like that happening over there, so we came here, and they wanted a better life for me, my brother, and everything like that. And hardworking people, they always worked 2 jobs their whole entire life to make sure there was always roof over our head, food on the table, and everything. So incredibly grateful to them, but just having that, that foreign aspect in me, just knowing about what goes on in other parts of the world, really does drive me too. I've always been, that entrepreneurial mindset, that the business focused mindset that, I can't just sit behind a computer and tap away for days, right? I need to go out and connect with people, need to shake hands, kiss babies, network, get to know everybody and what their stories are as well. And there's so many people here in the US and businesses in the US. But even beyond that, I mean, we're talking on a global scale. There's so many businesses across the world that just need the help and need the guidance and have their own stories that they want to share. And that's kind of what keeps me going every single day, right? Meeting new people from different parts of the world, different parts of life, knowing what's going on in their business, knowing what their goals are, and hopefully sharing the same stories with them that, I get to share with you and the listeners today. So just being able to connect with people. I love talking, so it's any chance I get to learn about somebody or talk about myself or talk about my story and we can have some type of connection there, really just drives me.
Yeah, that's really great. I mean, and that's quite the story. That's really cool. And that does explain the spelling of your name. That's just a wonderful story. Let's talk a little bit about BIPO, just a little bit, and because BIPO is an EOR, and that's sort of the backdrop or the subtext of today's episode. Let me just kind of give folks sort of a teaser here. Expanding internationally, this is kind of funny. It feels manageable until till companies reach the United States. Ironically, the home of the brave, of the
Hmm.
free, right? You know, and yet,
Absolutely.
and yet when it comes, yeah, when it comes to payroll, maybe you can talk about this a little bit. When it comes to payroll, it's pretty crazy.
It absolutely is. Just to give the listeners a little bit of background on who BIPO is. So BIPO's been around for nearly 15 years now. They're a big player in the Southeast Asia, the APAC region specifically, right? They're one of the largest payroll providers there for global payroll, as well as EOR services. We're a GPC platinum partner of Workday's as well. But a lot of our business over the past 15 years has been intra Asia, right? Companies expanding from Singapore going into Vietnam, Vietnam going into Laos, Laos going into Japan, whatever it might be, usually just concentrated in that APAC region, right? The reason I was brought on board here in North America, I do sit here in Tampa, was because they did see a need for that, right? They have their clients that want to expand into the US market. They also have, a desire to help companies that are in the U.S. wanting to expand into the APAC region, right? We're seeing, especially, over the past 6 years with the pandemic that happened and everything like that, that business isn't just local anymore, right? Business can be done anywhere. Business can happen anywhere. And they understand that, right? So we want to make sure that we can accommodate all of our clients' needs, all of our customers' needs, but as well as make sure that we're not leaving any stone unturned at the end of the day, right? If there's a potential client, a potential audience, and a potential market for us to get into to help them expand into different regions, that's really what we're here to do.
Well, let's get into this then, in terms of, because you folks are, you help companies do work here in the United States as well, right? And so why does the US payroll environment create such a steep learning curve? Like, what is it for global employers that's so tough? I mean, it is complicated, but what's going on?
Yeah, it's definitely a complex market. I think, that there's a lot that goes into it, right? This is probably going to be a multi-part answer. I think the first thing is definitely the state by state compliance, right? Usually when you're working in international companies, it's pretty uniform across the board, right? It doesn't matter really what region of the country it is. The guidelines, the regulations, and everything like that are pretty straightforward everywhere else in that country. The United States, it's not really like that, right? It's almost like 50 individual countries all put into, this one bubble, right? Yes, we have our federal laws and our federal taxes and everything like that that are pretty uniform across the board. But then you get into minimum wage being different in every state. You get into 401k requirements are different in every state, right? You have to make sure that certain states that have state withholding, you get registered with every single one of those entities and whatnot. And then if you're going to have employees in multiple states, well, now you have to do that for every single state that the employee is in. Not saying that, it's impossible or anything like that, or that the payroll providers aren't doing that. It's more so just that the employers themselves, they're not used to that level of compliance that goes into it as well. And then you can get into certain things such as benefits, right? Certain benefits like health benefits, dental vision that are, pretty standard and available across the board in other countries there, on the private marketplace here in the US. So it's just the learning curve more so than anything for a lot of these foreign companies, especially from companies coming over from Asia where a lot of their biggest priorities are, I just want to make sure my employees are paid on time, everything's paid properly. Whereas here in the US, it's a little bit more, what's the nicest system, right? Like there's a difference in terms of how the actual buyer views the systems and the people that they're working with. Over in the APAC region, 9 times out of 10, it's really who's going to do it the best, who's going to do it the cheapest. Whereas here in the US, it's a little bit more bells and whistles, what's the biggest bang for your buck, right? Technology is a big driver here in the US, whereas over there it's still a lot of managed payroll. So there's some nuances like that are probably going to be the biggest thing, but definitely the biggest, in my eyes, is just the cultural difference. The culture of how work is done in the US is just really different to other countries, not even just Asia, but we can get into Africa, South America, Europe. It's just we view work differently here than elsewhere.
That that sounds like a very American thing to hear. What do you mean by that, though? Maybe you can kind of dig into that a little bit.
Yeah, so for instance, right? Over there, in Asia, I'm just going to use Asia specifically because a lot of my clients are over there, right? Payroll specifically is done on a once monthly basis, right? Whereas here, okay, it's weekly now. We're tracking hours. There's commission bonuses. There's, paid holidays off. There's overtime laws. There's, if you're in the healthcare space, right? There's weekend pay. There's night pay. It's just viewed very differently when we're thinking about what's important to employees. The cultural thing too, from the employee standpoint, right? Here, the employees are probably logging into their systems every single day, checking how many hours they've worked, how much PTO they're accruing, seeing the company-wide updates, this person's birthday, this person's anniversary, so on and so forth. Any company-wide updates that are being sent out are usually provided maybe on an HRMS system in the US, whereas, in other parts of the world, I don't want to say they don't necessarily, it's just not a driving force or a driving impact to their workforce, right? The workers over there, they just want to make sure that the money's in their accounts. And, in terms of anything else, they're going still kind of a little bit old school where they're going to the HR manager directly and getting that information, right? And that's kind of something that's expected when you're working in the US, right? When you're, especially for some of these companies that are expanding over here, they're not really hiring lower wage earners. It's usually maybe higher C-suites or country heads and things like that, unless they're expanding some type of manufacturing industry. But even then, I think just we've kind of established a sense of norm here as technology is the biggest driver, right? Like seeing your pay stub available to you 24/7 is just, it's almost like a given that no matter what payroll provider you use, that's going to be a given to you, right? Having access and being able to request PTO directly from your phone, it's almost expected at this point. Whereas, in other parts of the world, it's still a growing process, right? Just getting everybody to adapt and change to the modern times that technology is here. Technology is really helping the systems and everything move forward. I think that's the biggest cultural thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a lot to think about. Eh, how do local payroll providers, if we can sort of pivot a little bit here, because I
Yeah.
know we want to talk, kind of expand this conversation as well. How do local payroll providers fit into the future of global payroll and EOR expansion strategies? And does that have anything? Is there any intersection with the United States when we talk about that?
Yeah, yeah. Local, or you're speaking local payroll providers in the U.S. specifically, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, it's definitely something that local payroll providers, they're going to have to adapt, right? It's a learn it or lose it type situation, right? The world is becoming a global place. It's becoming a global place for 50, 60, 70 years now. Obviously, the pandemic really expanded that process too. So if you're not ahead of times a little bit, you're going to fall behind on the ball too, right? Whether that's, I'm not saying every single local payroll provider has to, upgrade their technology immediately and offer a global payroll solution or, have their own EOR entities in every single country. But you do need to have some type of partnership even whether that be through BIPO, through a lot of these other providers. That's exactly what we do. We work with a lot of U.S. entities and U.S. payroll companies that want to offer a global payroll solution or have clients that are looking to hire somebody in Japan, somebody in Korea, somebody in Pakistan, somebody in Dubai. But they don't have any way of doing it themselves, right? Before it would just be, hey, refer it out to this person. They're probably going to be your point of contact from here on out, right? We've established relationships where we will obviously do it. Everything will be under our entity. We'll make sure everything is compliant. But to make sure that you're still holding that relationship with your client, we can, accommodate and still have you all be the point of contact, the main point. So there's no, fear of us, poaching your clients. And I know that's a big fear for a
Yeah.
lot of partners. They just, don't they worry when it's not in their control, right? But they need to offer something, right? Especially I'm down here in Florida, right? Miami is a big international hub, right? If there's a company or a client that you're working with right now, and you're a small payroll provider, a mid market to enterprise level payroll provider, the likelihood of your client potentially wanting to expand into South America, Colombia, Venezuela, any of these, Central American countries or anything like that, it's highly likely, right? There's a need for it. It's a highly, Spanish community down there. The likelihood that they're going to expand to a Spanish speaking country for whatever the needs are, right? Whether it be they're opening up a new manufacturing plant, maybe they're going to expand a call center down there, maybe they're going to outsource um, their accounting team down there. Whatever the reason is why they're expanding to it, they need to start offering a solution to their clients, because if they don't, the big boys are going to come in, unfortunately, and just steal the clients away from you. And that's the biggest fear, right? That's you're not necessarily, having to grow to, or offer a global or an EOR solution to grow and be the next big thing out there, but you have to have something to compete with the big guys out there, um, to maintain at this point. Like I said, if you're not adapting, someone's going to come in and swoop your clients away from you at the end of the day.
And that's the thing about the EOR market right now. It's
Hmm.
saturated with, it is saturated with many, many, many sort of smaller firms,
Hmm.
and then a handful of really large ones that were there first.
Hmm.
And what you're describing makes complete sense. And obviously this goes way beyond payroll. It's sort of the EOR business model, um, and 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 that's another conversation to have that maybe we should on the next episode that we
Yeah.
do together of the podcast. But in the meantime, in the couple minutes we have left today,
Hmm.
do you have any sort of additional thoughts you'd like to share with folks? What would you like them to kind of know?
Yeah, no, I mean the biggest thing, just I'm gonna pitch BIPO a little bit. Just, I
That's
know that that's not the purpose of this, but I do want you guys to know, just because BIPO has a big name in the Asian community, right? The Asian countries, a lot of people know who BIPO is and are, but we're really relatively unknown here in the US. That's kind of why I was brought on board to grow our North American division, right? Find companies and help companies here in the US that are looking to expand into the APAC region and elsewhere globally. You kind of said it a little bit right before that, right? It's a very saturated market. We're not promoting ourselves as the biggest global provider in the world, right? We know what we do best. Our target audience, our main goal is to help companies that are looking to expand into that APAC region, right? The Singapores, the Japans, Chinas, Laos, Vietnams. It's a very, very popular market for companies that are looking to go there right now for a multitude of different purposes, right? Certain countries are offering tax incentives for foreign companies that are coming there. The workforce is, of course, cheaper there. Um, the quality of work that they're getting in these countries as well is really significantly better than potentially what they're able to find here in the US. But also with being, just if you're a global company, most likely your clients are also global entities, right? So making sure that you have somebody available 24/7 in a call center or in your client's time zone to answer these calls. That's really why we're seeing such a big boom and growth in that APAC region. I don't know if you've seen my LinkedIn posts lately, but it's
Yeah.
just a climbing trend, right? It's not a plateauing of the APAC region market growing. It's just continuously growing and growing northbound, and should be going that way for the next 20 to 25 years. BIPO does that better, right? Well, like I said, we're not promoting ourselves as, we can touch everything everywhere, da da this and that. We know APAC. We are in 50 countries in the APAC region. We have 27 of our own payroll engines in those countries as well. The ones that we don't, we have trusted in-country partners that we're utilizing there. We want to make sure that if a company is working with us and they're expanding into that APAC market, they don't have to worry about compliance. They don't have to worry about statutories and taxes. All they have to worry about potentially is just making sure that they're doing business properly there and they're growing their business to justify having a workforce there, right? Um, Whatever we can do behind the scenes from a payroll and HR standpoint, we're going to make sure you're going to get grade A service at grade A pricing as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And now, helping folks also get into the US market
Absolutely.
and navigating
That's
that.
something that we didn't have before, right? Like we have, total number of clients. I think we have 10,000 clients across the board, right? There's a very small handful of clients that have already expanded into the US market from our existing pool, right? But that's because we didn't have anybody before. in a position like myself to help companies that are in the APAC region understand some of the complexities here in the US. We have that now. That's definitely something that's we're looking to do as well. Grow that. Work with U.S. partners, U.S. EORs, U.S. Payroll providers, PEO providers to really just offer a full suite of services for our existing clients, just so that again, back to what I was mentioning before, they're not getting swept away by the big boys out there, right? We want to make sure that the clients that we already have, we're satisfying all their needs, and they don't have to go elsewhere to find these solutions.
It's good to know that they can turn to an EOR that's motivated. Filip, thank you so much for
No,
joining
Brent,
me.
thank you for having me, man. I look forward to hopefully being invited back on, and hopefully the listeners enjoy this episode. Um, Appreciate you guys listening today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Future of Workforce Management and Payroll Insights by HR.com. We hope today's episode brought you valuable insights and fresh perspectives on the future of payroll and workforce management. Be sure to check out more episodes and explore resources at HR.com/podcast or wherever you listen to podcasts. Until next time, keep innovating and making a difference in the world of payroll and workforce management.